Host Tyler Kieft as he talks with community members, business leaders, and professional experts about the stories that impact you. You're watching the Megacast on Civic Center TV. Stop by West Bloomfield Town Hall June 14th and get your health in check at the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. Over 40 businesses, organizations, and vendors take the time to showcase healthy practices, tips, and resources for the community. Young or old, there's something for everyone and everybody. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday, June 14th, the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. This community update from Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
When the temperatures are chilly, being together warms the soul. Keep the winter fun going. Help protect yourself and those around you by keeping your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
I'm Steve Eiserman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where Children Trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
Ronnie started doing prescription pills at the age of 15. And by 19, he died. If your child is struggling with drug use, try not to be too proud to reach out for help. Don't be worried about what the neighbor will think or your family. Just get your child the help they need. Sometimes it's the hard road to take, but the hard road is nothing compared to living with the fact that your child is no longer with you.
There's hope and help at drugfree.org.
Hello, nose. My nose knows when somebody uses the bathroom. Mom, Polly didn't flush. Ooh, I smell cookies.
I smell an A+. How could my nose be running when it stays on my face?
Our noses know if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
You're listening to your radio homes from the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan and Oakland County. I'm Tyler Kieft. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page. Our top story, my apologies with our lights going crazy all over the place here. We'll fix that at our break. Our top story comes from Bill Leitner at the Detroit Free Press. Residents in Troy have been making it known that they are disappointed with MDOT after it was announced this week that mitigating efforts to reduce noise pollution on I-75 will only impact a small portion of the city. Just 2 small stretches of 75 will have these sounding walls, leaving many exposed to highway noise from their homes. Then there's the cost, with estimations of these 2 short stretches of wall stretching upwards of $12 million. MDOT spokesperson Rob Morosi said, quote, "We've approved new walls over a stretch that's 0.8 of a mile and another one that's half a mile, but that $4 million won't pay for even one of them," end closed quote. Later stating that MDOT could not exactly provide the estimated costs before meetings with engineers and other consultants were had on determining what would go into the construction, things such as soil types, foundation materials, drainage, and so on. And, residents of Troy were urged to contact their government representatives to urge them to provide more funding for sounding walls, and were not too happy when speaking their minds on the matter on Tuesday at the Troy Community Center. One resident was quoted saying, quote, "My neighborhood would already have a wall if it were a trailer park. We can't get one because we have nice houses," end closed quote. Others complained about sounding walls being only on one side of the freeway, leaving the residents on the other side exposed to highway noise. MDOT, however, claims that this is not an abnormal practice in terms of other communities living near highways, saying many other communities in our local area here in southeastern Michigan and across the state have similar sounding walls that are on just one side of a nearby freeway. So this is something that's going to continue to be a debate in the city of Troy going forward, as these sounding walls are scheduled to at some point go up on I-75 just north of Big Beaver Road. And of course, residents continue to be disappointed about this being really the sounding walls on one side of the freeway and only for a very short stretch. On top of that, the cost, also a main sticking point in this story. You can read the entire thing. Really extensive article from the Detroit Free Press that's on our local news page on civiccentertv.com, where you'll be able to find all those details that you need on this story and others coming up as well. We've got a good show ahead today on the Megacast. Carrie Krawiec will be with us in just a couple of minutes, as we'll have our weekly mental health segment. And then later on, some fun and intrigue. Also, a great educational opportunity coming up at the Michigan Science Center in recognition of Earth Day. All of that and more is coming up on the Megacast after this short break. Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic will be with us after this break. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Like what you see? Beautiful works of art, masterworks of metal, and accomplishments of artistry will be on display near you. All kinds of artists from all walks of life come together to celebrate their skill and appreciate their work's beauty. Hot Works presents the 2023 Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. Stop by July 29th and 30th between 2 and 10 p.m. between Powers and Daly off of Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important.
And now the same is true in the face of flu.
Influenza has the power to infect millions.
But it's easy to protect yourself, your family, and your community. The flu vaccine is safe and effective. And with COVID-19 still around,
it's essential. Together we can face flu season head on.
Visit michigan.gov/flu.
Many people are feeling overwhelmed and struggling with mental wellness these days. So be kind to your mind. Give yourself permission to breathe. Share your feelings. You are not alone. Have hope. Talk to a Stay Well counselor for free confidential help 24/7 through the COVID-19 hotline.
Ronnie started doing prescription pills at the age of 15, and by 19, he died. If your child is struggling with drug use, try not to be too proud to reach out for help. Don't be worried about what the neighbor will think or your family. Just get your child the help they need. Sometimes it's the hard road to take, but the hard road is nothing compared to living with the fact that your child is no longer with you.
There's hope and help at drugfree.org.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan and Oakland County. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can always stay up to date with us by visiting our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find more information on all of our programs each and every day, and find each and every full episode and individual segment on demand as well on our website. civiccentertv.com/megacast is the place to go for all of that. Joining us now on the program, as she does each and every week for our mental health segment, is Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Carrie, thanks for joining us again this week.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on. We celebrated earlier on in the week National Siblings Day, and of course with having a sibling comes often complicated relationships that have a number of different positives, but also can come with a variety of different negatives. So let's just begin with that sibling relationship, because it is such an important part of development for both of those siblings, or all of those siblings, depending on the size of the family. While they all have an impact on each other's development, those relationships too can develop over time in a number of different ways. So let's talk about that dynamic between siblings and how that varies from other relationships that do develop over a lifetime.
Sure. Well, probably your sibling relationship is one of the longest relationships you'll ever have. It should, in many ways, extend longer than the ages of your parents. And because you perhaps become married or find a life partner in late adulthood, your sibling is really the person, or siblings are the people in your life who you will know the longest.
And with that, knowing someone that long, knowing someone for your entire life, from the time you're born, through both of your lives or all of your lives, that often opens up the door for a lot of complications along the way that can have a variety of different impacts immediately and down the road. And so, what are some of those more typical conflicts that you'll see between siblings that develop over time?
Sure. Well, so I think especially like once you reach adulthood, each kid in a sibship may have different experiences of the parent. They may have different versions of who they think their parents are. They have different ideas about who was favored more, which I think that favoritism is probably one of the most common things in sibling rivalry from childhood through adulthood.
And so for parents, how do you balance that as you're raising these kids? Because that's something that comes naturally, and it's something that's not uncommon amongst siblings, especially in larger families, to see favoritism maybe be there, or at least perceive that favoritism is there, which is enough to have a significant impact on that individual as well as that family dynamic. What can parents do to kind of limit how much of an impact that perceived favoritism may have?
I think, one word, I would say normalize differences for everyone, for parents and for children. I think, like you and I, we've said so many times, happiness equals reality minus expectations. And so everybody has this fantasy, and parents too. Of course, I treat my kids fairly, or I love them equally. But I think what then gets missed is it's such a broad stroke. It doesn't normalize. Of course, there are differences. Parents have personalities, genders, histories. Children have personalities, genders, histories, experiences, traumas. Some people are going to naturally vibe together better. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean more or less love, more or less attention, but it may mean the attention paid to different things is going to feel different to one person than another. That choices are made, that perhaps a choice to give an independent child a lot of independence is a really great choice, but may also leave the side effect of them feeling less included or less attention paid to them. And that for parents to normalize, these decisions are hard. We make them with the best information we have at the time. And we always understood there would be consequences of feeling one way or another as a result.
Joining us on the program today is Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. You can find more information and get in contact with professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic by visiting their website at birminghammaple.com. That is birminghammaple.com. Especially in larger families, there's more relationships that are going to be there to balance between those siblings and from those kids to their parents, and then the overall relationship from that family unit. Do you find the professionals in the mental health wing, and especially in family therapy, which is more of your specialty within mental health, do you find that as families are larger, those complications become greater or more varied, or does it really just depend mostly on the dynamic of each person's individual relationship?
I think it depends, because in a lot of ways, right, there can be sort of multiple families within a family, families where maybe some children are born before an event and some are after, or some are college age while some are, new. So there may be even sort of different families within the family, and different people who even feel more or less bonded to each other as a result. Sometimes there can be more conflict as a result, and sometimes there can be less, because that people have the connections that are meaningful to them and the understandings that are important to them. So I think it really just depends more on the sort of the attitude of the family and the messages in the family about where the conflicts lie, or who is at fault or to blame or not, and I think if there's a shared experience and shared expectations, then there's less likelihood for conflict.
There's also conflict that comes from between siblings over time, and it can come to blows at critical periods, whether it be in those middle and late teens or in adulthood, especially when extended family comes into the fold from life partners, from kids of their own, and that also changes that dynamic. And so, in terms of those sorts of conflicts as they develop over time, how do you best manage those in order to maintain a strong family tie? Because in some cases, that can be a dividing point for these families where siblings no longer have a relationship with one another, or they do with their parents, but the parents then have to balance too. How do we get the family together without bringing a fight into the fold every single time we're together as a unit?
Sure. Like, I think if you're kind of mentioning like situations where perhaps like a new member of the family doesn't get along with an existing sibling or something, and there's some conflict there. I mean, I think again, the person who is put in the middle, the sibling who perhaps has to navigate, a conflict between their spouse and their sibling. It really, again, back to this word normalize, right? Is that perhaps the spouse brings some insight or awareness, hey, this isn't what's done in every family, or this is what my perception is of how a sibling or child or adult or parent, whatever, should behave. And then the spouse can also say, but this is like normal in my family, or like that isn't the role that I have with my sister or brother or whatever else. I think just offering education, how did things come to be? There's so much important information, and family therapists can be really useful in this if it's hard to do on the own, is really like understanding a family's history, and not just the generation before you, but maybe even a couple before. How are boys and girls treated perhaps differently? How are older sibling expectations differ from younger ones? Have there been trends across generations? Are there certain personality types that are expected different things or to behave in different ways? Can they be challenged? And what kind of challenge is enough, and that, right, so it doesn't have to be some rigid U-turn change of how we do things, but maybe that's not necessarily the role I want to play any longer. Educating your spouse, educating your parents, learning from your parents, what was going on in certain times of life. Was there postpartum? Was there, other traumas? What things happen in the history that make the current behavior, the current milieu of a family make sense?
How does this dynamic change, or how do these potential conflicts change or become more complicated in a situation, for example, where there's divorce between parents and the families? Because that can affect, obviously, all the kids in a variety of different ways, or even in one collective way also. So how does that factor into some of these relationships, especially between siblings, and especially if they're dividing their time between their parents?
Well, absolutely, and I think it differs at different ages and stages, and of course, different siblings are going to have different ages and stages. So where some may be aware of parent infidelity or substance use, some might not have known that information at the time, or it had been kept from them, or some are, older and launching, and they're off at college or something, while a younger sibling is dealing with parent conflict. So I mean, to really just understand, you have different lived experiences, even if you grew up for the most part in the same house with the same family. Certainly kind of Shakespearean quote, right? The world is a stage and we're all merely actors. We don't realize sometimes the roles we play, even inadvertently. One sibling may take up some anger or grief with one parent, and another may feel naturally compelled to protect them. Whereas a more neutral approach for both, right, would have been helpful. And we can kind of get sort of like logged into a path that keeps you sort of rigid, you're sort of feel like you're on the track, like the pro-parent track or the against-parent track, when really there should be some fluidity there, would be beneficial for everybody, including the parents and the siblings and all those relationships.
And then it becomes even more complicated after a situation like divorce or other ways that a parent may no longer be in the family, divorce, death, or so on. And then you have an even greater complication too if you bring in a step parent and you bring in maybe even their kids from previous relationships as well. So how does that then complicate things, and how would you suggest managing those sorts of relationships where now you have new members of your family coming in? They are not blood relatives of each other, but they are now siblings in some way, shape, or form. That's often a tough relationship to manage.
Sure. I mean, I think, and we've talked a little bit about step parenting, and I think step siblinging would probably feel in the same way, is that, of course, like normalize these experiences. The fantasy or an expectation that it's all just going to be like hunky-dory, happy family. Of course, romantic partners have that and want that, and that's the fantasy. But the expectation is, of course, some children in a household are easier going. Some are open to like more new friends, more new people, and some people are closed off. That each of those perspectives is okay within reason, and to like normalize, like, yeah, like there's not going to be as much wiggle room with this sibling to have this bond, whereas maybe with another there would. Of course, like really, reducing the comparing yourself to other families. Well, so-and-so has a step sibling and it's been a wonderful experience. It's like, well, that's one experience, but they happen in a range. And we really just hope for somewhere in that middle space, that often something too good to be true is, and something too terrible is often not as bad as it seems, but somewhere in the middle is what we can really expect.
More information and ways to get in contact with the Birmingham Maple Clinic can be found on birminghammaple.com. You can also send them an email, info@birminghammaple.com, or call them 248-646-6659 for information and consultation. Joining us on the program, as she does every single week for a weekly mental health segment, is Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. And as we're managing these relationships within our own families or within our families down the road, or as we're considering, maybe our friends are telling us or our coworkers are telling us about these family issues, how can something like like working with a family therapist play into this and maybe help manage some of those conflicts in ways that may not be possible at home, or may have been tried and tried again in the home environment and are simply not making those breakthroughs?
Well, I love it. It certainly provides structure, provides a space, a little bit of a referee or a mediator, someone who could sort of digest and process the information and not feel so entwined in the problem. So it can maybe perhaps make a reflection that sounds differently than our, when we're with our own siblings, the interactions might go very fast. They might become defensive quickly or accusatory quickly. And a therapist in a therapist environment can help slow it down. So it's not just such rapid fire, attacks at one another, but what's really underneath what each is trying to say. Also, again, offering the reflections of the history, I think coming with curiosity. So often when we approach something with our siblings or our parents, we come from our point of view as fact and we tell them you're wrong, and that blaming can lead to arguments and conflict. But the reality is curiosity. Wait, what led you to see things this way, or what information were you picking up on? What was going on in your life at the time? How do you sort of look at other situations in similar, different ways? Coming with curiosity is going to give you a lot more information than accusation.
And obviously, this would be a yes from you for families that have that mixed family environment. That, of course, family therapy could be helpful in those ways. But how would family therapy maybe be helpful for these new families that are coming together, those step families that are coming together with kids, especially from different mothers and fathers that are now all part of one dynamic, especially early on in those relationships as they're growing those dynamics and trying to create a new family unit?
Sure. Strong families have what we call like shared rules, shared values, shared experience, shared language. So, one thing, shared traditions. So, I think about even like countries, there might be countries that have their own traditions, their own meals, and there might be other countries that have sort of similar, but not wholly the same, because they derive from that First Nation, but then, created their own space. And I think when a family joins to kind of think, what are our shared rules? What are the rules of this house? Not what happened in the old house, not what's happening in someone else's house, but what can we agree upon as a rule? And I don't just mean rules like, what time you go to bed or something, but just kind of like where we sit in the chairs around the table or something, right? Like sort of what's the customs of our new family. And even when I say shared language, things like inside jokes, having kind of words that mean something, that are kind of like a wink and a nod to certain members of the family that maybe other people outside of your family wouldn't understand. But all of those help to create sort of, like I said, this sort of community of people who belong together. And so thinking about, especially a new family, start to think, like, what are the things that are a part of this group that make us us? Do we have like sort of a family slogan or, sort of a family signal that we kind of know means something to us to no one else? And that helps to make people feel bonded, especially as you're starting something new.
Carrie, before we let you go, anything else we haven't discussed yet today that would be important on this topic, particularly of that sibling to sibling or step sibling to step sibling relationship?
I think starting these conversations early and often as parents, modeling, having them as adult children to your parents, consider having them, certainly using the opportunity and not waiting till after your parents are gone. So often, so much conflict between siblings happens once the parents are gone, but nobody was really talking about these things. So recognizing that they may be hard to talk about, but also good to talk about. And so spending some time talking about, like, again, what were some meaningful things going on in lives? Why did parents make one choice over another? Even though it was hard, again, that it wasn't blaming, acknowledging, I both love you. I just want to learn more about this, because if I have this information, I can understand it more and then move on from it.
Carrie, appreciate you joining us as always, and look forward to our next week conversation.
Thank you. So glad for having me.
You can join Carrie and I each and every week for a mental health segment on Thursdays right here on the Megacast. And get in contact with Carrie and the other professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic by calling them at 248-646-6659 or visiting them on birminghammaple.com. We'll take a break on the Megacast in just a couple of minutes. We'll get back to our local news page and all the stories making headlines here in Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan today. Stay tuned. This is the Megacast.
Stop by West Bloomfield Town Hall June 14th and get your health in check at the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Captions. Go to CivicCenterTV.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV. What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show. Like what you see? Beautiful works of art, masterworks of metal, and accomplishments of artistry will be on display near you. All kinds of artists from all walks of life come together to celebrate their skill and appreciate their work's beauty. Hot Works presents the 2023 Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. Stop by July 29th and 30th between 2 and 10 p.m. between Powers and Daly off of Orchard Lake Road. Stop by West Bloomfield Town Hall June 14th and get your health in check at the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. Over 40 businesses, organizations, and vendors take the time to showcase healthy practices, tips, and resources for the community. Young or old, there's something for everyone and everybody. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday, June 14th, the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. This community update from Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Like what you see? Beautiful works of art, masterworks of metal, and accomplishments of artistry will be on display near you. All kinds of artists from all walks of life come together to celebrate their skill and appreciate their work's beauty. Hot Works presents the 2023 Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. Stop by July 29th and 30th between 2 and 10 p.m. between Powers and Daly off of Orchard Lake Road. What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV. Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30. My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps.
10 a.m. to 11 a.m. live shows. You can always find us on your time, anytime, at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Over on our local news page every day, we have a number of different stories that are making headlines right here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. We'll continue on with our local news segment today. As also making headlines on our page from Hannah McKay at the Detroit News. In East Lansing yesterday, a group of about 35 students gathered at Berkey Hall as MSU students across the university staged a midday class walkout. to call for stricter gun laws in Michigan and in the United States, just under 2 months following the deadly shooting at Berkey Hall that killed 2 students and left 5 in the hospital, as well as at the MSU Union just west down the street where 1 student was also killed. The students chanted the names of their fallen classmates, Ariel Anderson, Alexandria Werner, and Brian Frazier, and in addition showed solidarity with gun violence affected communities in Michigan and across the Union, chanting the names of victims also from the Oxford High School shooting, as well as the shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. 19-year-old international relations student Doriti Mari, one of the protesters, said, quote, "A majority of our population is affected by gun violence in some way, and we wanted to bring light to that, and we want to ensure that we don't forget what happened. No matter how many years go by, we want to make sure we remember these people," end closed quote. For 21-year-old MSU student Belle Hoke, this was her first time attending a rally of this kind since the shooting, saying, quote, "I was out of town for a lot of the previous events, such as the vigil, because I was just not in a headspace to be able to attend those. I was a wreck. I think there's something really special about like putting actually putting your physical body out in the world where people can see you and like making noise," end closed quote. Students called for regulations including red flag laws, or so-called red flag laws in Michigan and the U.S. that would automatically flag, so to speak, those who have been committed of certain crimes, including felonies especially, and other violent crimes, domestic violence, and so on, and bar them from being able to purchase guns as they go through routine checks before they are able to obtain the firearm that they have attempted purchasing, claiming that doing so in the wake of the MSU shooting just before may have prevented that shooting from happening altogether, as the 43-year-old man who had perpetrated this crime had a previous charge on his record that was charged as a felony but later pled down to a misdemeanor, allowing him to then purchase the guns used in the shooting at MSU legally. They said, the students that had protested and others said that red flag laws of that kind may have prevented the shooting that killed 3 on their campus and injured 5 others altogether. Even staff joined in on the protest, with one school of education secretary saying she joined the students in the midday walkout because she is, quote, "sick to death," end closed quote, of people continuing to die because of gun violence. And so MSU students not only gathering at Berkey Hall, but also other places on campus as they staged a walkout in the early afternoon on Tuesday to protest gun violence. Today is the 2-month anniversary, tonight around 8:20 p.m., the 2-month anniversary of the shooting at Michigan State University. So marking 2 months, and just before marking 2 months, making their voices heard as legislation has already been put through the system, or is currently in the system in Lansing, going through our state legislative process, including some of these red flag laws already on the docket in the state of Michigan, where a Democratic majority in both the House and the Senate, as well as a Democrat in the governor's office, make it very likely that these pieces of legislation are going to become law in the state of Michigan, as the Democratic Party has been quite adamant about gun violence reform and gun control of some kind being a high priority for them in Michigan and across the U.S. Additionally, making headlines today from Bridge, Michigan's Mike Wilkinson, census figures in Michigan are showing that once again, deaths outnumbered births in our state in 2022, including all but 7 of Michigan's 83 counties. That's 92% of the counties in the state of Michigan seeing a loss in population. Our state's population also dropped overall. No surprise, 92% of counties lost their population. 8% of our counties maintained or gained population of some kind. You would think that would end up being a loss, but not nearly as large of an amount as that might sound. Just 0.4% of Michigan's population was decreased over the course of 2022. That's about 43,000 people. Some of these changes are due to COVID-19, with people still continuing to die in 2022 due to the virus, or exits to the state from the state due to work, family, or other needs and means that had caused that to happen. These metrics are a reversal from the 2010s up to the pandemic year in 2020, where Michigan had been seeing a steady rise in population, and during that 10-year period saw a 200,000 person jump in its population overall. Now it's down 43,000 thereabouts, mostly in one of the state's largest counties, right next door to us in Wayne County. Oakland County is right up there in terms of the greatest losses county by county across the state, with just under 5,000 fewer people this year than last, alongside Washtenaw County, whose population is down just under 6,000 residents, and Macomb County, whose changes in residents went down just a little bit over 7,000. These exact metrics, including additional links that provide even more information, are provided in a very extensive article from Mike Wilkinson and the team at Bridge, Michigan today, linked on our website on civiccentertv.com. on our local news page. A number of different reasons why people have left Michigan in the past few years. Jobs has been part of it. The job market's, of course, tough in Michigan as it is in many other states in the union. Michigan about middle of the road in terms of its job market in comparison to the other states in the union. Also, some opposition to government regulations during the COVID-19 pandemic. We witnessed that being a sticking point in many states in the U.S., and there was a reason why a lot of people did leave the state of Michigan also. That being said, this drop in population, in population due to job availability in particular, is something that is becoming a focus of those in government, particularly those like Governor Whitmer in higher positions in the government, and there's more detail on that as well in this article from Mike Wilkinson at Bridge, Michigan, linked on our website today on civiccentertv.com. Just click on our local news page. Finally, making headlines from Mark Torregrossa at MLive. 80s and sunny during the week this week has been pretty typical, and of course, as always, great news, but Michigan weather is never done with its hijinks and its fun and games. Believe it or not, snow is back in our forecast here in Michigan for early on next week. This so-called cold spell begins on Sunday with rain and temperatures in our local area in the early to mid 60s, practically winter if you're asking me. Then a dip down to actual cold on Monday and into the evening when precipitation may in fact turn to snowflakes. Now, here in Oakland County, the chance of the cold and the precipitation turning into snow is rather low. Most of the actual snowfall that will be seen in the Great Lakes State on Monday will be in the northern lower peninsula, and for our lovely friends, the Yoopers, up north as well. But never say never. Michigan weather always has some sort of fun and intrigue in its bag of tricks. Just because winter is technically over doesn't mean winter is over, even in mid-April in the state of Michigan. All these headlines are making news today on our local news page on civiccentertv.com, as well as public health information links from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, statewide from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and locally from the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great show ahead on today's edition of the Megacast, continuing after this break with another guest as Lucy Hale from the Michigan Science Center joins us to talk about all their fun Earth Day activities. Stay tuned. This is the Megacast.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick.
The virus will die.
It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine.
To keep safe and strong.
Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
I'm Steve Eiserman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where children trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. can learn more about our program and stay up to date with us on our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast. We'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across Oakland County and around the Great Lakes State, including My Michigan TV, and find every single one of our full episodes and individual segments on demand. So whether you join us weekdays live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. or join us at night over the weekends or whenever you get some free time and want to learn more about our local area, it's always right there on civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now on the Megacast as it's nice and sunny and warm outside with a light breeze, perfect weather outside. We are currently loving the environment here in Michigan, but we have ways that we can celebrate our environment and advocate for it in the future to keep these nice days coming for years to come. And that's going to be recognized later on this month at the Michigan Science Center as they recognize Earth Day. Joining us now is their Chief Business Officer, Lucy Hale, on the program once again. Lucy, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, glad to have you on with us. You have a free day coming up on Saturday, April 22nd, in recognition of Earth Day. As always, plenty of fun, games, and education happening at the Michigan Science Center to recognize this day as you invite people in for this free event. Tell us about your Earth Day celebration and what's going to be happening at the Michigan Science Center this year.
Yeah, well, we're so excited to partner with Axalta Coating Systems again. They're the sponsor of our upcoming Community Free Day on April 22nd. And, you know, Axalta does a color of the year every year. And this year the color was Techno Blue. And so when we sat down to talk with them, that blue color just sort of reminded us all of our blue planet and our Earth. And so we decided that pairing this free day with Earth Day would be a wonderful way to celebrate our environment in ways that we can help conserve and protect our environment. And so Axalta will be joining us that day. So will our friends from Six Rivers Land Conservancy. And then our team has some wonderful programs planned that celebrate the environment and also celebrate the specialness of Earth and how we're also, looking where else there might be life in the universe, right?
Yeah, and it's an important day to recognize how we impact our environment, how that's going to impact our future as well. And that all plays into kind of what goes on daily at the Michigan Science Center, exploring phenomena from across the various sciences that impact us right here in Michigan and even beyond. So how does that also factor into this celebration, those educational elements that teach us about the ways that we impact our local environment, our local ecosystems, and those beyond us as well?
Yeah, so we have a couple of exciting things happening. So one of them, we have a partnership with the Lego Foundation and their Learning Through Play initiative. And part of that is a program called Build the Change. So it's using Lego brick to create solutions to different challenges that we have in our day-to-day lives and that impact us right here in Michigan. So challenges like food waste or transportation and the impact of transportation on the environment, or things around native habitat and urban landscaping and creating, urban corridors for wildlife, especially things like migratory birds. So these are experiences that people will be able to come into the Science Center on our free day and participate and build the change using Lego brick to come up with their own solutions once they learn a little bit about the issues and things that we might be able to do differently to come up with their own solutions to solve these larger problems that we have. And we share all these with Lego and through our Learning Through Play network. And so some of these might actually end up becoming real world solutions that get put in place, which is exciting. Another activity we have is about ocean acidification. And so that really talks about the impacts of pollution and carbon dioxide on our ocean environments and how that can harm those ecosystems and what the overall larger impact of that can be. But then also ways that people can help reduce their carbon footprint and help reduce plastic pollution in the ocean.
We're joined by Lucy Hale on today's edition of the Megacast, Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center. You can learn more information, including about their upcoming free day on Saturday, April 22nd, in recognition of Earth Day by visiting their website at mi-sci.org, mi-sci.org for more information on this and other programs happening now and in the future at the Michigan Science Center. And part of this, you mentioned a little bit earlier, the Earth, Wind, and Weather program also going to be a big factor in this as we explore the weather here in Michigan, which is always complicated, why it's so complicated here in Michigan versus other places, and just weather and climate in general. So how does that also factor in as something that people can learn from and also have a little bit of fun with on this free day?
Yeah, so we have our Earth, Wind, and Weather Gallery, which has some really incredible exhibits about climate and the environment and weather. And so you can learn about everything from, plate tectonics and how earthquakes are made, what causes earthquakes. You can learn about geysers, there's some relevant current science news about plate tectonics in the Pacific Ocean. And there was a recent volcano in Russia too that people might have seen on the news. So you can learn about the science behind those current science topics in this gallery. But then you can also learn about weather events. And one of the ones that does impact us in Michigan are tornadoes. And you can see that tornado right in the center of our Earth, Wind, and Weather Gallery. So you can learn about the atmospheric conditions that lead to tornadoes forming. You can learn about the difference between a tornado warning and a tornado watch. And then you can talk with our education team about ways that you can help protect yourself in severe weather. And that's something that we keep in mind too here at the Science Center. We have a lot of guests that we're responsible for, as well as our staff and our volunteers. And so that's always top of mind for us this time of year as well. The atmospheric conditions in Michigan can change, as the weather changes. And so it's something that we need to be aware of in the spring for sure.
You can find more information on this free Earth Day celebration, their free day on April 22nd. That is a Saturday coming up in just a couple of weeks. On their website, mi-sci.org, mi-sci.org, and can also find them on YouTube as well as other social media such as Facebook, mi.science.center, on Instagram as well, mi_SCI, and other various social media. All that information also on their website at mi-sci.org. And Lucy, last year, this is not a new event. This happened last year also, a big hit at the Michigan Science Center. So you're expecting that to happen again this year. It's a free day. Anybody is welcome to attend, but there are limited spaces. So how many people are going to be able to attend this event, and where are you at right now in terms of what's still available to the public if they'd like to attend?
That's a great question. So we did do this event last year. We do have a few free days that we do throughout the year. Our last free day did sell out. And so we do encourage people to go online to reserve their tickets. So we release tickets in different waves. So right now, tickets are off sale. We've sold out our first block. Our next block of tickets will go live at 8 a.m. on April 18th. And then the third and final block will go live at 8 a.m. on Friday, the 21st. And we really are encouraging people to go ahead and pre-reserve. We have 3,000 spots for the whole day. So there won't be 3,000 people at the same time in the museum, but through the whole day, those are the number of spots we have. And so we really encourage people to go online. We have a limited capacity due to fire code. So we have to make sure that we manage that. And we do want everyone to have a wonderful, safe, and fun day. And so we don't know that we'll have room for walk-ups, which we've been able to do in the past, but these days have gotten so popular. We do have lots of other ways that people can engage for reduced admission. And if you go to our website under Visit Us, you can see those ways. We participate in Museums for All. Blue Star Museums will start in May, which is a military discount. And then we also participate in the Explore Pass with Visit Detroit, which is a wonderful way for folks to get buy one, get one to come to our museum, and many other attractions in Detroit have great deals on that as well. So if you can't get tickets to our free day, you can still come for reduced admission, looking at the different categories that we have on our website. And of course, if you get a membership, you can come whenever you want for the year.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of those other things that are coming up or currently in the museum beyond this free day on April 22nd and all the fun that's going to be there for Earth Day. If people can't make it on Earth Day and they want to come in the future or even come this weekend as they're watching today and throughout the rest of the week, what's going on right now at the Michigan Science Center? It's also a lot of fun. People want to come this weekend or in the future.
Oh gosh, we have so much great stuff going on. So we do have two great films that we've added that opened up just a couple months ago. One is called Turtle Odyssey, and it follows the journey of a sea turtle from hatching until an adult life, going back to the beach it hatched on. And it is set in the coral reefs off the coast of Australia, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it's underwater, and it's very tropical. And so if it does get a little chilly again next week, come on down and see that. It'll get you in the mood for summer. And then we have a wonderful film in our IMAX Dome Theater called Dream Big, which is about architecture and engineering. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's a very inspirational film, too, for kids who are interested in going into the STEM fields. It talks about different opportunities that you can engage in to work in cities. And so that's a really awesome film, too. And then we have new activities that we've added to our Spark Lab, which is a Smithsonian, part of our Smithsonian affiliation. And so that's a really great place to learn about making and inventing and tinkering. And then we have a new stage show called Frostology, and Kaboomistry is back too. So you definitely want to check out our stage shows as well that are on our science stage on the lower level.
All that information can be found on mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org for more information. And again, you can join the Michigan Science Center for their free day just before Earth Day on Saturday, April 22nd at the Michigan Science Center. Again, Saturday, April 22nd is their free day in celebration of Earth Day. It's always a big hit, so if you want to join them on their free day, you should go to their website now at mi-sci.org and get those free tickets so you and your kids or you and your friends can attend and learn so much about our local environment, about our weather, and explore all the exhibits for free at the Michigan Science Center. Or you can always join them every other day and every other weekend ahead for all their other programs as well at mi-sci.org. We're joined by Lucy Hale, their Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center, on today's edition of the Megacast. Lucy, another couple minutes before we'll need to wrap things up for the day. Anything else we should know about your free day coming up on April 22nd, or other programs that are going to be on the docket at the Michigan Science Center we should be keeping an eye out for?
So we do have one really exciting program that's just for adults that's coming up on Saturday, and it is our After Dark World Space Party. And so we do have a few tickets left for sale, and we will, if you're down in Midtown on Saturday night, come on down to the Science Center. And so that is an adult-only night. It's 21 plus. We do have fun grown-up beverages, and we have some great experiences in the Science Center. We have a Laser Lizzo show that will be happening in our IMAX. One of our staff members, Paulette Epstein, who is our director of theaters, and she's also a volunteer solar system ambassador with NASA. She's doing a great talk on the James Webb Telescope. And then Dr. Michael McConville is coming to do a great talk on all the ways that space can kill us, which is really about human exploration and how NASA and others around the world are working to make human exploration of space as safe as possible. So some really fun programs will be part of that adult after hours event on Saturday the 15th.
You can find more information on mi-sci.org each and every day, and of course purchase tickets to any of these events, including that one this weekend coming up just for the adults and the entire family on their free day on April 22nd. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It was great to see y'all.
It's great to see you as well. The Michigan Science Center can always be found on mi-sci.org. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. As always, you can keep up to date with us and all of our partners throughout Oakland County and around the state of Michigan by visiting civiccentertv.com/Megacast. There you'll find links to every one of our partnering stations, find out all the programming that they do in the other 23 hours of the weekdays that they're not with us here on the Megacast live or live to tape. You can also find us on demand with our episodes and each individual segment usually posted at about 1 o'clock or shortly after each and every afternoon that we are here with our live shows. civiccentertv.com/Megacast, the place to go for all of that information and to find us on demand. Big thank you to Carrie Krawiec for joining us for our weekly mental health segment, as well as Lucy Hale from the Michigan Science Center, and a huge thank you to our crew, Jared Clark at Master Control at My Michigan TV, and Calvin Brown, our director, as always, here at Green Media Center in West Bloomfield at Civic Center TV for running the show each and every day. Until next time, we thank you for joining us, and I encourage you, take care of each other, and we'll see you very soon.